welcome back to Talk to Your Creative. Thank you for joining again. This is a platform that I hold a conversation with some incredible people and share their insights and knowledge, and hopefully you'll take some information away that can better help you in your life. I'm the host, Luke Gledhill. I run a brand development agency called Just Up the Road, helping brands with marketing initiatives and telling their story. I also host the 21st Club, which is a think tank bringing together people that do good and give back through social, spiritual, and environmental initiatives. So today I'm super excited. I have a good friend of mine, Garrain. I'd like to bring Garrain in.
There we are. What's going on, brother? How are you?
Hello, mate. Very good. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. I want to start off by saying something. You and I were just talking earlier, how the universe works, right? We're going to go straight into this. This blew my mind. We first met when a mutual friend of ours, Casey, brought you to the running club that I host in Los Angeles. This was earlier this year, before everything went into shutdown. And we had a little bit of communication. I didn't really talk to you properly then because there was a lot of people there, but I could feel the energy. I could feel the positivity from you. I saw you on obviously our mutual friend, Light Watkins' live Instagram, and I'm watching, thinking, I know this guy, and I'm start flicking back through pictures and suddenly realized that it was you that had come to the running club that time, and now we're able to. I'm blessed to have you on to have this conversation about everything it is that you do. So, long intro short, give me a quick overview. Say who you are and currently what you do.
Say who I am. So first and foremost, thank you for having me on. I don't know if I'm supposed to see my face on a split screen because I don't.
No, you're good, mate. You're good.
Okay, perfect. All right, cool. So Garrain Jones, when someone asks me who I am, it always goes deep. I am possibility in motion. But what I'm about, I'd say about 8.5 years ago, I lived in my car. I was roughly around $200,000 in debt, literally no vision, no goals for my life. I was completely depressed. My girlfriend had just broken up with me. My mom was dying in the hospital. My daughter pretty much disowned me because I just wasn't handling my responsibilities as a father. And I pretty much just gave up on life. And then one day I call it my moment of awakening. I just yelled out, not what I don't want, but I yelled out for the first time in my life what I wanted. And it was at 3:43 in the morning. And I just yelled, I said, okay, I'm tired of fighting. I don't want to fight. I want to be surrounded by nothing but positive people. And I just want to inspire people. And I want to make a bunch of money, but I want the money to represent something that I passionately believe in. Just show me a sign. I'll do it for free. Just show me a sign. 5 days later, I'm at the gas station and I meet a homeless guy who asked me for money. And I said, you have more money than me. And he said, change your mindset, change your life. So in that moment right there, everything in my life shifted. It was like my whole life was a lie. And I just kept saying to myself, change your mindset. Change. So if my mind is set on something, then that's why the result is what it is. So if I do different with the same circumstance, my life will change. Well, it's been 8.5 years of me every single day. I come up against resistance or something that I don't want to do or something that makes me, I'm just not in an area of my life where I'm not happy. 8.5 years of saying yes. And I'll do it anyways, and I'll do it anyways, and I'll go to the seminar, and I'll read the book, and I'll ask the questions, and I'll be humble, and I'll drop my ego. And from a life of everything that I would never do, I've been able to attract and generate the life that I always wanted, that has surpassed my wildest dreams. So in a nutshell, I learned quite a few things, and I've devoted the rest of my life to sharing these philosophies and principles that I've learned by personal experience.
I mean, that's incredible, mate. And there's a lot to unpack within that. Just Tell me what you are actually currently doing, because you're a wellness entrepreneur.
So,
That's
so wellness entrepreneur. I lead 3-day transformation workshops. I've spoken in 72 countries in the last 6 years. I speak in crowds, whether it's 40,000, 20,000, a room of 10 people, at jails, juveniles, Zoom, Skype, whatever. It doesn't matter. Just give me the access to the people. So that I'm a best-selling author. I have a book out now, Change Your Mindset, Change Your Life. Thank you, homeless guy, for the title. But I'm basically a man of the people who will use any platform to show people how to use the powers and the gifts that already live inside of them so that they can potentially produce extraordinary results in their life. And I do real estate development.
Well, that's quite different from everything you've just said, but I guess that does align. No, actually, let me retract that.
Not necessarily, because it's all transformation.
Yeah, no, I will retract that totally. I have a good friend that lives in Orange County, Kevin Sturdivant, Kevion, and he has a similar. He's kind of a life coach as well, but real estate is his main focus. But he talks about the 7 equities in life and very much about mindset, which is exactly what you just explained, and then mentioned the real estate as well. I get that.
Yeah, because what I'm fixed on, what I really, really, really love is I love to watch something go from here and evolve. There's some people they're addicted to buying watches, addicted to alcohol, addicted to buying shoes and all kinds of stuff. My addiction is literally seeing things transform. I love, because I know what happened to my life. So it makes sense why real estate development, it's like I develop houses, I develop people, I develop leaders, I develop bank accounts. So all of that, to see it transform, it hits every part of me that's like really channeling the mission that I'm here to do.
So as you were talking before, I couldn't help but think that, like, everything that we've been going through in the last couple of months, it's enabled me and my wife to really focus and think about things that are actually of importance to our life and what we want to achieve with our life. And as every day goes by, that gets bigger and bigger and brighter, right, in my mind. Even this morning, I was thinking and looking at some things and thought that it's a real shame that a high percentage of people living their life don't actually understand or acknowledge what they truly have to give in life, right? Because of the way that they've been told or taught, or however that is. And when you were saying before exactly what you were saying, it was just making me think that some people don't believe in the things you or I might say, because they think that's hocus pocus, or that doesn't fit within my life, right? That's kind of fluffy, but the real truth of it is, and everything that's happening now is showing this, the real truth of it is that we are capable of so much more than what we actually do and give, right? And we need people like yourself to remind other people of that.
Yeah, I was the person who said, "Oh no, that doesn't fit in my life. No, they're just lucky." But then somebody did a exercise with me. They said, how many hours of sleep do you get? It's 24 hours in a day. And I would go to sleep at 3 a.m. and then I would wake up at almost noon. So you put that in the scale of 24 hours, it's like I did all of that sleeping. Then I would wake up and do nothing for 2 hours. And then so you minus that, and then I'd be scrolling the internet, but like it was like mindless TV, mindless scrolling without intention and purpose. Boom, that was 3-4 hours out of the day. Then I was in a relationship that I knew I didn't want to be in, and I stayed in it, which takes effort and energy and all kind of stuff. That was 3 hours out of the day. So when I started mapping out all of this time that I was giving my energy, effort, and time to, it actually came out to 39 hours in a 24-hour period of time. So I was starting the day in the negative. So when you look 15 years ahead and you're just like, man, yeah, you get 15 years ahead. 15 years goes by and you look back, you're like, man, where did time go? You never even really saw the value in the time. So once I learned that I got the same amount of time, but I've just been giving my power away to everyone and everything and every mechanism of relationships that I didn't want to be in. And I took my power back and put it into actually evolving as a human, and then sharing that with other people and things that I really want to do in this world. It was interesting how back then I produced a result, but I didn't like. But when I was intentional with my energy, I produced a major result that I loved. And that was the difference. Same time, but a different focus.
So to play devil's advocate a little bit with that, Garrain, everything you believe in is about mindset, right? Now, mindset covers a lot of things. Energy flows where your thoughts go, right? So for somebody that might say, yo, well, that's fine for you because, whatever, but no, I know what's best for me, because they're stuck in the past, yes. Right? Their brain and neurons are firing on old thoughts, on old past times, right? So talk to me about the importance of mindset and how you can start to change those things.
So say, for instance, if I had a conversation with somebody and they said that to me, my first question I would ask them, what do you want in life? I would literally just ask. 9 times out of 10, when they're like, oh, no, never going to happen, it's because they don't have a strong foundation. Their foundation is rooted in past thoughts. And if you're rooted in past thoughts, there's no possibility for you to get into the future, because the future is going to be a recreation of your past. But if you know what you want and you know why you want it, now it will have more of you because it requires more energy. And then when you put more energy into the possibility of what could be, then you're not talking about things that are in the past, because so much more is taking up that energy. So mindset plays a huge role. Why? Because just being a health advocate, I learned that there's more than one mind. You also have a mind in your gut. That's why they say when you eat, you eventually literally turns into whatever your thoughts are. And it just keeps on recycling back and forth. So the healthier your gut is, all of a sudden you start thinking different. It's the feeling is the secret. So if you understand that feeling is the secret, and you have 2 minds, a mind in your gut right here in this area and a mind right here, the more that you focus on developing that mind, it's actually going to make your life a lot easier, because it comes with power. It comes with energy. It comes with this personal magnetism. And so I would talk to a person, ask them what they want, because I can't get there without you having the anchor of what you want. Because if you're all over the place and you're like, oh, no, I want to do this and this and this and this, you might as well put 20 addresses in the GPS system, but you're not going to get anywhere. It's going to be like, seems like I've been here before. But if you put one address in the GPS system, it can give you 5 different ways to get there. The mind is the exact same way. So once you know what you want, then it's like putting the specific address in your mental GPS system. And I teach people on how to surrender to the process, like be committed to it, and be okay for wherever the process is going to take you, because once you're connected to wherever it is that you want to go, the process that you grow through is going to shape you and mold you so that you can be strong enough to sustain at that next level. That's why they don't put first graders in fifth grade. So you've actually got to be the level of person that even one deserves to be at that level and that can actually sustain there.
Yeah, there was a few things I was thinking as you said that, going, and I think that surrendering to the process is really important, because let me tell you why. If you take entrepreneurship or business, how to build a brand or a company or a business, so many people will give up at the first, second hurdle. Even though they have that vision and that goal in mind, the path isn't taking them the way that they want it to go, and they're hitting resistance, and that's knocking their confidence or setting them back. Instead of going through and just flowing with it, like you mentioned, I think that's so important that people realize, look, from here to there, there's going to be different ways. You've got to just roll with the punches, right? Because you will get there eventually if you remain focused. And then there was something else I wanted to go back to ask you about. I've done a lot of reading and research about the gut being the second brain. And a lot of research actually says that the gut really is the first brain, because whatever you put into your system, however your gut deals with and reacts with, then actually has determination over what your thought process is and your mindset is moving on, right? And I've had this conversation before with people. Why do you think, I mean, I know the answer, but talk to me about how important healthy food is for your mindset. Because if I go to a gas station, or if I drive through an area that is deemed a lower income area, all I see is takeout fast food joints, right? So talk to me a bit more about food and mindset.
And you'll see takeout fast foods. This is a whole nother conversation for a whole nother day. 100% intentional. I think it's a controlled environment that knows exactly why in those areas, there's a liquor store on every single block. But when you go to Beverly Hills, you don't see it like that. So it's the energy and the frequency is all different. But so in regards to food, I've been taught, so I grew up, and so I speak on many different levels because I didn't come into a healthy environment. Nobody in my family was healthy, nor were they talking healthy growing up. My mother, freaking Salisbury steak, bacon double cheeseburger. That's what they served at school. Lasagna, but like every night. Bluebell ice cream. Everybody in my family is what was obese. And so I didn't have the awareness of what healthy is and what happens and everything. So coming from that, then for the first time, because of this whole change your mindset, change your life philosophy, I was like, you know what? Let me try eating salad. Let me do this. Let me drink water instead of soda. I started noticing my skin pigmentation evening out and changing, and wrinkles on my face started shifting. My bones started cracking less. And I'm like, I'll be 41 in July, but I have more strength, power, and energy than I've ever had in my entire life at almost 41. And so back when I was 32 and I just started this health journey, I was broken down. I was falling asleep during the middle of the day every day. I was just groggy. I didn't feel like doing it. And I was 40 pounds heavier than I am now. So when I started taking on my health and seeing, all of a sudden, the first thing I noticed was how much clearer my thoughts were. I could memorize my dreams, and I felt good about myself. I started speaking kindly with people. New opportunities were coming into my life, and I didn't know what to make of it because you can't see the picture while you're in the frame. And I wasn't yet aware. And you can't change without awareness. I wasn't aware of what was going on. All I know is I have more energy than I've ever had. And what I taught was food is fuel. It's not your comfort. And I've always ate food for comfort, and I'd finish my plate, but I'd have these big old plates. And this is something that I was domesticated with as a child. But the reason why health is so important, because health affects your heart. And your heart determines your feeling frequency. And just the same formula as I told you before, and how you feel determines the way that you think. The way that you think determines what's coming out of your mouth. Whatever is coming out of your mouth literally, typically is in alignment with your actions. And your actions, they determine your outcome. So once I've realized that all of this was connected on a string, it looks different on the surface, but every time I feel amazing, all of these amazing things happen in my life. And when I feel like crap, all of these things start breaking down. I'm like, I'm in a fight. I get into a car wreck, and I'm like, wait a second. But I've been intentionally healthy, pursuing as my first priority for almost 9 years. And it seems like my age went backwards. It seems like I have more energy, more strength, more stamina, like than I've ever had in my life. It was like I reversed the ages, Benjamin Button. And I realized that the fuel I had been putting in my body was never meant for my body in the first place. It's just what my family fed me. Now I'm intentionally putting in fuel that's designed for this F1 sports car. I'm not putting in Kool-Aid in the sports car. I'm putting in Formula One fuel into this Formula One sports car, and it's going to drive how it was designed. So if you understand that food is fuel, you'll think differently about what you put in your body. And once you have that awareness on you potentially living 40, 50 years longer, but in a healthy way, you think very differently about what you put in your body.
Yeah. I mean, I can't advocate that enough, Garrain. As you were talking, I was thinking that the frequencies of food as well, right? Because
Yes.
everything has energy. So if you're putting something into your body that is processed and made up of things you don't even know or can pronounce, that is going to have a low level energy. And then that's obviously going to affect your energy externally, internally as well. If you're going to put broccoli that is organically grown into your body, you know, that's going to have a high frequency, and it's going to help you moving forward as well. So I'm really interested about your book. Tell me a little bit about your book. You mentioned it earlier. How did you get to writing a book, and then what was the purpose of the book?
I remember, the thing about it is that I'm very big on prayer, and I would just be like, God, who do you need me to be to make the biggest impact in your children? And I have that to be a prayer every single night. Send me a sign, send me a sign. I remember what happened the last time I cried out for help. I'm like, what's the sign? Something that I would do for free. That's how I became a wellness entrepreneur, because I was already doing it for free. I just didn't have a platform. So a platform came, bam, skyrocket. So as I was on this journey of transformation, I've always been, let me not say that. I was working with a coach, and she had me do an exercise where I wrote a letter from my big self to my little self, apologizing, saying, I never left you. I just wanted to let you know that I love you. And then she said, use your non-dominant hand and then write a letter from your little self to your big self and let whatever emotions come out. I wasn't expecting all the things that I stuffed down when I was a little kid to come out, and I was a lot of curse words and everything, but it was so freeing, because then they got to merge after that. And from there, I say, you know what? No more am I going to live in hiding, trying to pretend to be somebody when deep down inside, I'm really this person. So I went on social media and I started being vulnerable. Right now, I'm living in my car and I don't care who knows it. 5 years from now, I'm going to be a multi-millionaire. I'm going to retire my mom. And I'm going to do all these things. And I don't care who doesn't believe me. And it's all on social media right now. So from that time, I made these declarations and I was putting out all of my vulnerability. You think you know me? You have no idea. You have no idea. I'm sleeping in my storage unit, and you know that I can't pay child support. I'm an ex-convict. You have no idea, but this is what I've showed you. Now see the real. Now get this. I had hundreds of people reach out to me that said, how did you have the strength to do that? Oh my God, like you're telling my story, and I've never seen somebody be so vulnerable. Thank you so much. That was so freeing. It was the first time in my life where I felt like I was on a mission. And it was after I prayed, you know, and then all of a sudden, all these people said, you should write a book. You should write a book. You should write. When you get thousands of people, after you have prayed and said, send me a sign, say, you should write a book. And it's like the lot, like you hit a spiritual lottery. Well, maybe you should listen to that. So the people asked me to write a book. And once I realized the formula of writing a book, I realized that every authentic story and vulnerable story that I shared that had like 20,000 likes, 15,000, mind you, people don't really know me. They just know what I'm sharing because nobody else is really sharing that kind of stuff that's like raw and real. I realized that I had all the chapters over the last 8 years right there in the exact formula that I had learned at a book workshop. So I was like, you've got to be kidding me. I'm going to take this out, this out, this out, this chapter. And then I went to perfect strangers, over 3,000 of them over a 5-year period of time. And I just walked up to them and I asked, if you can ask the world 3 questions that would answer your problems and change your life, what would they be? So I took the statistic that was asked the most, and if I had a personal result, I knew that I can support and guide the world's questions by personal experience. So that is exactly what I put in my book. It's an everyday people's guide to understanding the powers that already live inside of you so that you can actually have the awareness of them and then use them to produce extraordinary results in your life. That's why I wrote the book. And it's a simple and easy read so that you can reread it about 5-6 times.
Yeah, that's so empowering. I mean, just I've heard of people's processes of how they get to write a book, but that is, I mean, hats off to you for that. I would definitely advocate people reading that book after you explained that process. I mean, it's just incredible. Garrain, you mentioned earlier, there it is. Put it, move it, there you go.
I didn't even put a title on the front. I just wanted to let the art breathe. It's like dead me here.
Yeah.
And then it's changing into alive me here. It's got my name, got the title on the back. Change your mindset, change your life. And there's a door.
It is a fantastic artwork.
I have it in English and Spanish.
I love that. I love that. Garrain, you mentioned before possibility in motion. I picked up on when you said that. Can you talk a bit more about that?
So if you don't live your life from possibility, then that means you're living your life as a recreation from your past. There is no in between. One of them are going. So when I learned, like, you can't change, because people say, oh, leave the past in the past. When I learned that your past has treasures of philosophies and lessons there that have been sent specifically for you to learn from, so that you can, if you're in martial arts, you don't just leave white belt, you like take white belt into the next belt, into the next belt. And so all of these things that you grew through, if you never got the lessons, you never go on to the next level. So once I went back and I started learning, okay, so I was molested for this reason. I went to prison for 2.5 years to learn an insurmountable amount of patience that nobody is more patient than I am. And so I learned all these different lessons. And once I learned the lesson, it's interesting how those things kind of just, it had no more power, had no more weight over my life. So if the program is still running, it will actually slow your life down. So if you're being weighed down by your past, it's no different than if I had 25 apps open on my phone, still programs still running. But how do they go from iPhone 10 to iPhone 11? They got to get rid of the old and then start creating and discovering, and it stimulates you. And then they bring in and usher in the new, but they don't keep the old and the new at the same time. They get rid of the old camera to make room for the new camera. So possibility is everything who you could be. Back there is everything who you were. You'll never get into the future with the eyes of the past. You can learn from the past, but you get into the future with the eyes of looking through possibility. Who could you be in 5 years if you let go of your ego, your alcohol problem, if you forgave your mom, if you let go of resentment of your dad? Who could you be if that's not programs that are still running in your life?
So I have a suggestion for you. I think Possibility in Motion is the name of your next book.
I'll write it down.
Okay, there you go. So I'm really interested to know, you talk a lot about relationships. Tell me a little bit about the importance of being present and holding space for your partner.
That was the hardest one. It's like I learned everything in my life to then learn how to earn my daughter's trust back. Because I would never let a woman get close, which is wonder. Now it made sense why I was the epitome of the single guy that couldn't commit to nobody. And I was wondering why I couldn't even develop a relationship with my daughter. So I wrote a list 3 years ago that I forgot about. And it was of this perfect person. This person will be my soulmate, all these different things. And I was very articulate. She makes her own money, no daddy issues. She's masculine and can easily slip into her feminine. She loves healthy, active lifestyle. She's a business builder. She loves creating. She loves fashion. She's God-centered. She loves reading books. I wrote down 62 attributes and I lost it. I forgot about it. I started doing mastery and transformation training, 10-day silent retreats where we're not talking for 10 straight days and meditating, doing all kinds of work. And through there, I started deepening my heart into areas that were never open. That was who I needed to become, which was completely different than the father that my daughter had. And when that happened, it shifted all the women around me because they saw in me possibility of who their father could be, and their relationships start changing as I was handling my responsibility and earning trust and really staying no matter what and learning how to truly just ultimately date my daughter and become the most powerful representation of who she will marry one day. When I became that person, in walked my soulmate. Now, here's the craziest thing. It was almost like I had to prove to the universe that I was ready for a woman at that caliber by handling all the responsibility, the consistency, the hearing things that I don't want to hear, and I still show up, making my daughter feel safe, protected, acknowledged, feel like she mattered, and that I was here and I'm not going anywhere, and that she was number one. I never treated any woman like that before. So when I learned that, and I was with a friend of mine that's just like, man, every time I'm with you, I just feel like I'm growing as a person, and we were just friends. And then I found my list of 62 attributes after 3 years. And I looked on the list, and a few things I noticed. I wasn't half of those things that was on the list. But in those 3 years of transformation in my daughter's relationship, it shaped me into a person that was 100% of those things on the list. My wife is 100% of those things on the list, and she treats me how I want to be treated. I treat her how she wants to be treated. And on the list, I said, I'm going to meet her at a personal development seminar. I met my wife at a personal development seminar before I even saw the list. So relationships. So I had to tell all of that to share the power of any relationship you have is shaping you for another relationship, maybe in the future or right now. So if you have a horrible relationship with your mom, it is almost safe to say that there's crazy things going on in your with your love life, because those are your first mentors. And if you've never learned anything different, then you'll just keep running that same program of the past and not like operating from possibility of who you could be. So the importance of relationship is everybody's been sent to teach you something, and you teach them something. And if you never learn the lesson, you just passed up on a test that could potentially evolve you into the next test.
And there was just so many things in what you just said that ring so true and what people can learn. I just think that's incredible. And the journey that you went through to get to that point, to meet your wife as well, I think that's just incredible. I read some things this morning and it instantly made me think of you, and I wrote them down, and there's 3 quotes. I want to read each one of them out to you and get your reaction to them.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
If you are not careful, you will end up living the illusions that others have created for you.
Mm. I love that. I have a saying that I always say, and it's like, when I was trapped, when I felt like I was in prison inside of my own body, is because I was living the life that other people, that I thought other people wanted me to live. And this is like being in a jail cell inside of a jail cell. There's no freedom inside of that if your image is to please the other people because they think that you should be like this. So that speaks directly into what you said.
And I think also, to follow on from what you just mentioned, is that a lot of people seek and look for validation for almost everything they do. And I think that's a large part of why social media is so big, is because people are consistently seeking validation. You've already spoken about this, but when you can just look within and focus on within, you don't need outsourced validation, right?
So here's the thing. And that's easy. It's easy in theory. The thing about it is you can't change what you're not aware of. And most people, cemeteries now where you see the most dead people, is we walk around every day, people, something that's died inside of them. And it's just not being aware. So what I do believe is, you start your bike, like I could easily tell a child, you get on, it's really, you can train yourself to ride that bike and find balance. You can, however, there's more people that learn how to ride a bike with the training wheels so they can get in the habit of so they can get in the habit of. So I think having people say, I'm proud of you and you can do it and all this kind of stuff. If you can learn to lean on that till you believe it yourself, it's almost like borrow my eyes until they become your own eyes. Like Michael Jackson there was like Fred Astaire and James Brown, but he wasn't just born that. He mirrored these things first and then he got on his own 2 feet. I think that's more of the conversation. But for the most part, it's a lot of unawareness that's seeking the validation. However, it was validation when I was learning about transformation that gave me a little bit of confidence, like Frankenstein coming back to life. And then once I got a little bit of confidence and I started reading, I approve of me. You see what I'm saying? But there was like little stages. You don't give the baby pre-calculus. You start with the ABCs, but it's about having the guidance to know what to look for. Most people don't have guidance.
I think the key is what you said is unawareness, right? That's the one word that stuck in my mind as you said that. Let me read these other two out to you. I want to get your takes on these other two as well. A saint was asked, "What is anger?" He replied, "It is a punishment we give to ourselves for somebody else's mistake."
Oh, that's so good. Send me that quote. That is awesome. That is so good because no one can make you mad. Something can happen and then you can choose whatever response you want. It could be a deep trigger or whatever, but then you choose it and you actually make yourself mad and you ramp yourself. Somebody does something to allow you to create a way for you to evoke yourself and be angry and all these other different things. Like you made me mad. I'm like, did I make you mad? Or did I do something? You then made it an automatic that I'm going to choose to be mad in this moment. Oh, I do have a choice. I'm not dumb. I choose to be happy.
Yeah. I'll send you that one. I can't take responsibility for these. I found them, but I will send you that one. The last one. Do everything with a good heart and expect nothing in return, and you will never be disappointed.
So I love this one because that was one of my greatest lessons. I have never been a person who was lazy. Even when I was living in my car, I was never lazy. I just didn't know where to put my energy. And I would always say, oh, when is it going to happen for me after all I've done for you? And I would do something. And then 10 months later, when I didn't get my way, I was like, you know what? I did this and I did this. And then I saw a guy who was passive income. And I saw him and he asked for permission to go behind his own nutrition bar. And he asked this girl behind the bar, she probably didn't even know he was the owner. And he's like, may I have some water? In his own sports bar. And he asked for permission. And then he never stepped over trash to ask how he could help other people. He would just see a need and he would fill it. And he just kept doing it and kept doing it. I'm like, man, all these good things always happen to him and people around him. I'm like, when is it going to happen for me? But I was like, I was that guy. You know, would you like to donate 2 hours of your time to go behind the bar? I'm like, well, how much am I going to get paid? That was my mentality. That's when I was $200,000 in debt, almost $200,000 in debt, not including the people off record who I owed money to. So then one day I spoke to him. I said, how can I grow my business like you? And he said, always be the first person to raise your hand when it comes to contribution. And I didn't get it because I used to be like the little mean Smurf. I hate this. I hate that. Secretly with a smile on my face. But then I started raising my hand. I say, you know what? I'm going to make the best healthy smoothies. I'm going to whistle when I sweep And then I just developed the habit of being a giver just because. And then it came time when somebody that I was trying to develop was watching me. And then when somebody asked for, oh, who would like to donate 2 hours of their time? The person that I brought on day one raised her hand. She said, I will. And then I asked her, I said, why'd you do that? She said, because you did it. She didn't know any better. So I had to be the example of what was possible first, so that when she came into an environment of contribution. I'd say this, 6 months from that time, the caliber of people that were coming into my life, into who I was being and the energy in the field that I was creating was too big for a small space. So it had to keep amplifying and amplifying and amplifying. So without me trying to force it, my level of service matched the abundance of the opportunities that kept coming my way in its time, not my time.
Yeah, I mean, that's, I think, just such a powerful message on how you broke that down then. It really is.
And there's one more thing I wanted to share, because I don't have an agent and I don't have management. However, I've been featured in Forbes, Entrepreneur. I've been on Impact Theory with Tom Bellew, all these different things. No PR. Get this. People are like, how do you go and speak at this place for 1 hour and they pay you $50,000? How do you get $10,000 an hour for a one-on-one coaching session? I said, because I've said yes 99% of the time to most people 8 years ago. So if you had 4 followers and you wanted to interview me, yes. If you had 20 and you're just starting, you were afraid, yes, yes, yes. Well, guess what? Just like I evolved, they all became CEOs. And they remember the person who said yes to them and believed in them and shouted them out and everything. And now we're just all circling around as like this entrepreneur field. But like a lot of us came up together. You know, even with Casey that we know, I was the first person to take Casey aside like 3 years ago and teach him about the spiritual side and the love side and what you're going to walk into. So now Casey introduces me to everybody, but that's how it works.
Yeah. I mean, that it's just incredible the way that for you to explain that, and that's something that I always live by as well, and can't advocate enough for people, is that you are the energy you want to attract, right? And you give the energy you want to get back. And not even that you expect it back, but I just think it's so important how you broke that down. Let me ask you something. I'm super interested to know if there's another person or even a company or somebody you see that is really blazing the way forward in shifting culture and life for good.
Say that one more time.
Is there somebody that inspires you, or you see, that is really blazing the way and shifting culture and life forward for good?
So I love the company Apple. So I started looking at like leadership, and I started looking at companies. So there's people that look at like a person, and I started looking at companies and the people that surrounds the person. So when I'm like looking at that, so I see a person that's like, I'm inspired by a lot of people, but then I see people around them, and it doesn't rub off, and I already know what that's connected to. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, if people around you aren't winning, then that means you're putting a lot into you right now, and that could be feeding the ego. So I started looking at companies, and I started looking at brands, and I started looking at the people that's closest to the leaders. So when I look at Apple, And I know some people who work high in Apple. When I have conversations with them, I'm so intrigued. And I know where it's coming from because leadership comes from the top. So I start studying them. And then I'm looking at when I get updates on my phone and how it makes me feel, and that whole layout of easy connection and just like the wave of the future and possibilities and everything. I would say Apple is a conglomerate that I love how they present themselves for the people. So Apple's one of them. And a newfound one for me is, and it wasn't always like this, but Nike is one of them. And Nike is the brand of Nike. And that's simply because they open up their branding to all cultures, like literally all cultures. You can see white, you can see black, but that's always been. But then once you see somebody with a jihad on and you can only see her eyes and she's boxing, I'm like, that's what I'm talking about. Reach the people, because I'm really about the people. So when I see things like what Nike is doing right now, it truly it inspires me. I love freaking Conor McGregor a lot. I don't care how much shit he talks. Like, he's made some crazy mistakes. So did I. So I can relate a lot. But as far as this is what I'm going to do, and then it happens, and then you come from here and generate that, and then you're providing this life for your 2 babies, and you're loyal to your wife, and all these different things. So I love, it's probably why I manifested him and being in the same room with him in 15 days, because I called it. So yeah, no. So Connor, Pharrell Williams, just the way in which he presents himself, and it's all about creating euphoria in the world. So Pharrell, Connor, Nike, and Apple, those 4 are 4 that I really, really like.
I don't know what I expected you to answer with that, but that certainly wasn't what I was expecting. But I can relate to it, and I'm actually glad that you mentioned Pharrell, because when I ask that question to a lot of people, I hope that they mention it, and you're the first person that has mentioned him, because he inspires me with his creativity and how he holds himself as a person, and for good for the future as well, you know.
Yeah.
Before we wrap this up, mate, tell us what does the future look like for you?
Babies. Me and my wife, we're in we don't say trying, we're in the process of creating babies. And so everything, I'm like, I have my business is like thriving. My businesses are thriving through pandemic and everything. Right now, my future, what I'm thinking about is literally introducing tiny humans into this ecosystem that me and my wife are in the process of creating, and then having them have a fair chance at life instead of the one that they were just handed, and giving them creative expression and things like that. We're both so excited to meet our little tiny humans. And so that's my big project that I'm really excited about.
That's very cool. I love that. I love that. Okay, so tell us, Garrain, where people can find out more about you. Tell me everything there.
So you can go to my website, which is GarrainJones.com, Instagram, Garrain.Jones, Facebook, of course. It's me making all of the posts, even though people say you should pay somebody to do it. I'm like, it doesn't feel authentic. So I do it for now. So that's me on my Instagram. And you can check my book out. It's on Amazon right now in 2 different languages. It's called Change Your Mindset, Change Your Life. And yeah, I'm just excited, man. I'm excited about life. really. And I thank you for this opportunity.
Well, mate, I can't thank you enough for your time, your inspiration, your energy, and your passion. I'm sure a lot of people will learn a lot from everything you've just said. And I can't wait to see you again in the very near future and run with you again as well.
Likewise, man. Thank you again for the opportunity and for reaching out.
Enjoy the rest of your day, my friend.
You as well. Take care.
Bye-bye. Okay, that was incredible. Garrain is an amazing person. Even I was learning a lot from what he had to say, and I'm sure that you will pick up some real gems from him. So thank you again, mate, and I'll be back very soon. Thank you. Bye.